And we have news just in. President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Major General Farouk Yahaya as the new Chief of Army Staff. Prior to his appointment, Major General Yahaya was the General Officer commanding one division of the Nigerian Army and the incumbent theater commander of the counter-terrorism, counter-insurgency military outfit in the Northeast, codenamed Operation Hadinkai. More details in our subsequent bulletins. Let's bring you updates now on the Children's Day celebration today. Child sexual abuse, also called child molestation, is a situation where an adult or older adolescent uses a child for sexual stimulation. Child sexual abuse can occur in a variety of settings, including home, school, or work, especially in places where child labor is common. The effects of this vice can include depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, propensity to further victimization in adulthood, and physical injury to the child, among other problems. Now, as Nigeria celebrates this year's Children's Day, a gender advocate, Tessy Biobaku, joins me to discuss how this vice can be curbed to protect the child. Good to have you join us, Tessy.
Yeah, thanks for having me on board.
Tessy, you and I have had a lot of conversation on the state of children in the country, especially child sexual abuse. And we can both say categorically that since the last time we had this conversation and now, nothing seemed to have changed. Do you share in the frustration of those who say we aren't doing so much to protect children?
Well, I'll share that frustration to an extent. Even though it might look as if we're not doing so much, it's not an excuse for us to talk. Happy Children's Day. When I tell this to an adult, there's that smile that comes to their face, more like, oh, and I'm like, there's a child in every adult. There's an adult right now that is still trapped in that 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 4-year-old that was molested, that was assaulted, still going through the trauma and reliving it every day. It's something that we need to keep amplifying our voice, because there's no stopping to you, voicing out against what is not right. This is a despicable crime, and of course we must intentionally, deliberately, and collectively make sure that to an extent we don't stop. We must keep fighting against this criminal act.
Children are more likely to be molested by those who are close to them, those who they trust. Mothers, fathers, uncles, aunties, teachers, and most times favorite teachers. Speak to us about how you think that this impacts on the ability to prosecute.
And that's the problem. That's where we have a lot of problem, because a lot of children that were molested or being assaulted one way or the other, you find that it's more from relatives, close family members and all that. So it becomes this thing about, oh, it's a family thing, let's let it go. A child is not, where you think a child should be saved more at home, becomes even something that you are not even sure the child is safe. The need for us to be cautious, for us to be mindful of who we leave our children with. Then we should make deliberate efforts to make sure that, look, what we inculcate into our children goes a long way. In terms of morals and all that. We must see how we can bring up our children to make sure that, look, there are certain things that are not good. We have, out of 3 children, the girl child, one out of the girl child, out of 3 children, are molested or have gone through one form of sexual assault. Then you have 1 out of 5 boys, the boy child, going through this. Also, we've got to understand that you have where the girl child is even being molested by another, female. There's a lot going on with regards to sexual abuse and molestation. But you see, one thing that comes to mind is we must be able to be ready to break the culture of silence, of sentiment, of saying, you know what, even if it's a family member, you've done this, you need to face the consequences. And also, if we see something, we must normalize knowing that when we see something that is not right, we should just sweep it under the carpet, because eventually it becomes a case of what we've experienced of recent, of someone like Inyebon, being killed. The boy that must have done that must have started somewhere. Of
Absolutely.
recent, just on of recent, maybe almost not up to 2 weeks ago, we had the case of a 6-year-old that was raped to death in Kaduna. As at
Absolutely.
2019, we had a 4-year-old that was raped in Oba. We had
And
we had two
we
cases
could
of
mention, Tessie, we could mention a lot of these cases, but I particularly like that
yes,
you said we should break the culture of silence, because this mind your business
yes.
approach isn't really doing us any good as a
So it's
country in terms
not
of
doing us
protecting the
any good
child.
at all. Yes, yes.
Absolutely. I mean, just a lot to talk about when it comes to child sexual abuse, but we do have to leave it there, Tessie. Always great to have these conversations with you. Thanks for talking to us.
And thank you very much. Thanks for having me on board.